Hello, and welcome to our channel, where today we will look at Octo, our latest project for the DevOps community. We are going to post more videos on Octo in time, but let's get started with this very first one. We're going to cover 4 main topics today. What is Octo, why we need it, or why should you care, what is possible in Octo, and finally, some live code in action. So let's get started. So, what is Octo? Octo is a general-purpose IAC framework, also known as Infrastructure as Code, that allows you to define and manage your infrastructure with a meaningful and intuitive code base. Octo is built on TypeScript, very much like an Angular or a Nest.js project, so developers coming from that background should feel a lot of familiarity when writing infrastructure code in Octo. And just a quick note, Octo being a general-purpose framework, you can write providers for any cloud infrastructure, though we currently only have one out-of-the-box AWS provider that you can use to create infrastructure in AWS. In future, though, we expect to cover GCP and Azure as well. So, why is there a need for Octo, or why should you care? To understand that, let's take a look at some of the current IAC tools. We'll look at examples from Terraform, AWS CDK, Pulumi, and CDKTF. And by no means we are discouraging you from using these libraries. These are good libraries. But we simply want to compare the current state of IAC with what Octo provides. In this sample Terraform repo, we are making a S3 website. Now, in the first look, you will see that there is a lot of low-level details that DevOps may be familiar with, but not everyone is well-versed in infrastructure like this. In most companies, DevOps will write the basic structure like this, and developers are expected to self-serve themselves by making appropriate changes. This is tough when you don't understand what's written here. Ideally, you want to shield developers from this kind of low-level details. It is also not easy to understand what is defined here, as the code is big and complicated. Let's take a look at this AWS CDK repo, which is trying to also create a S3 bucket. Now, this code looks a little bit more logical, but again, there's a lot of information and low-level details here. It's hard to understand, and you have to hunt down every configuration options. Here is Pulumi code for the same S3 website. Slightly different than AWS CDK, but more or less of the same thing. And finally, here's CDKTF for a similar example. Again, you will notice that there is too many infrastructure details. Now, onto Octo, and what is so unique about it. While other IAC tools are giving you the ability to configure or code resources, which are direct access to infrastructure components, Octo gives you an encapsulation layer on top of their resources using models. So instead of thinking about VPC or subnets, security groups, or load balancer, or auto-scaling, or other low-level components, in Octo, you can encapsulate them into models. So you think in terms of your application, like what region am I using, what environment do I have, what servers do I have, and so on. Additionally, Octo encapsulates even further with modules, which are higher-order infrastructure components made of multiple models to do something. To give you an example, think of a module that you have created which sets up Nginx load balancer and which uses Consul as service discovery. Let's say you create another module which creates an AWS ALB with target groups. Both of these modules do the same thing, which is to create a load balancer. And for you, you don't care which one you use. So you can use one or the other depending on your need, or you can even swap them later on because these are one-to-one modules. So what modules is doing for you is to, first of all, encapsulate all of your infrastructure about load balancer and put them into this one little package that you can import anywhere. So in a nutshell, module is allowing you to reuse infrastructure or even share it with somebody else if you want. So the way how all of it works is that you write modules using models, which gets converted to resources, and then we use native cloud SDKs to convert all these resources to a real infrastructure. Let's look at an example. Octo is made on top of graphs, so it is easier to visualize. Here we have an app with a region and one QA environment. We have a backend server with one deployment, and that deployment is being executed in the QA region. It is very easy to visualize all of this given the graph. Now, having defined this infrastructure at such a high level, you can see how it encapsulates a lot of complexity. Now, the same model graph, when converted to resources, now look more familiar with other IAC tools. But the benefit you got out of Octo was that you got to model and encapsulate your infrastructure into a better mental model that other developers are sure to appreciate. So now let's see Octo live in action to tie it all together. Here we have the same examples of creating a website. First of all, there are many models available in Octo out of the box, and a website is considered a service in Octo. We are going to create a very simple graph with just two nodes, my app and my website. This results in a single resource, the S3 bucket in which your website is going to be hosted in. In this repository, you are looking at a very basic TypeScript setup with a simple package JSON and a tsconfig. Here we have kept some simple website files that we would like to create our website with. And to create a new service, we just define a module and we declare a new service. And here we give the name of the bucket and the path where the website source files are. The app module here defines the app node, and the S3 manifest node is an external module. We'll talk a lot more about what these are, but for now, we just define a new service node and associate it with the app node that ties the service to the app. And that's it. Now when we run this project, a new website is generated. And now I can access it. And now that we have seen Octo in action, what's next? Well, Octo is in its really first stages, and so it doesn't have a lot of modules or doesn't cover a lot of use cases. What we are actively trying to do is to write a lot of more modules so that it can cover basic functionalities and you can get started with Octo even faster. If you would like to try out Octo for yourself, it's easy. You can just go to octo.quadnix.com and get started. We are really in the development phases, so you can probably expect a lot of bugs, but your input is really important to us and it would help us improve the product overall. So thank you for watching, and that's it for Octo, guys. See you next time. Bye.